I mean, I sit in the House of Commons, I listen to debates in the House of Commons. And if you listen to those debates, you would think that Britain was a little island on the other side of Mars. There's no international context at all. And we're saying, look, we've got to wake up and look around the world, look at successful economies around the world, in Brazil, in China, in India, places like that, and see what we can learn from them. We have, and the public agrees with this, we have created a culture in which people can, as a lifestyle, opt not to work. Because there's no stigma attached to it, nor should there be. But that can create a problem. It's quite acceptable nowadays and possible to decide never to work. And at the same time, people who are in work are very highly taxed. If you look around, if you go to East Anglia, for example, and you look around farms, the people who are doing the work are mainly immigrants from Eastern Europe, working long hours in the fields for not very much pay. But they're willing to do that. These jobs are there. And people who run these farms are saying, well, I can't motivate British people to do them. You've got to ask questions about the welfare state, the provision that we give. The welfare state envisaged by Beveridge was much smaller. It was very much a safety net than the welfare state that emerged, that evolved. And that evolved essentially because different political parties were competing to give benefits and a good wages, good economic future, really, for people. But essentially what they did, we saw this very much with the last Labour government, was that they were borrowing money in many ways to try and pay for the entitlements that they were giving. I mean, I would love to ask a member of someone on the left, is it not the case, do you, hypothetically, believe that everyone on benefits is really trying, to get into work? And I think obviously most are trying to get into work, but some are not. Is it the case that working in a call centre is particularly dignified and respected? I don't know, but it's a job, and you're paying your own way, and we should accord it some respect. It's in the world that we have to make our own way. Other countries are doing this. They are working in Singapore, certainly in the Asian economies. I don't know whether, I mean, I've been around a Chinese factory, and I can tell you that they time absolutely every single thing that you could ever do, any process, and they have to do a certain job in an hour, and if they do it in 58 minutes, they get 2 free minutes in which they can just sit down and talk to their friend. I was quite an academic child, so I worked very hard at school, and I very much had that immigrant sense in which education was a way forward, which we talk about in the book in other countries. And that was very much my experience of hard work, passing exams, trying to get through. I worked in the city, that was hard work, but that wasn't backbreaking work. I mean, no one would tell me that working 12 hours in a bank is the same as working in a coal mine. And so, I cannot claim to have spent 12 hours doing very heavy manual labour. I mean, that's very demanding. But as a constituency MP, I mean, people say you had all these lavish holidays, but like last week I worked 7 days a week, and there's a very much a line in which, and I've written books, I try and do things on top of what I do as a Member of Parliament. So I'm quite active, but I don't want to personalise it. But I'm just saying, speaking in very general terms about what I see in my constituency and what I see in Britain. I think it's pretty much conservative mainstream, I would say. I don't think many Conservative MPs would have much to disagree with some of the prescriptions. Yes, the language is quite stark. I think we've come from a sort of half generation where politicians weren't being very clear, and they did talk in sound bites, and they did try and say things to appeal to people and to be popular. What we're trying to do is trying to actually have a debate where we can speak in clear terms and give people very clear choices.